Hi there, and welcome to this week analysis and updates of the market. So as usual, a quick disclaimer over here, everything I'm covering in today's session solely based on my personal point of view, and they do not directly translate to any sort of a financial advice or trading signals. Yeah. So with that said, we'll jump into the charts over here and take a look at the markets and highlight some opportunities to keep an eye on, some potential trade ideas that you can look up for the week. Okay, and of course, if you have any questions, feel free to put it into the chat. We'll be able to take a look at them and of course answer questions accordingly. Okay. So let's start off with the dollar index. There are a couple of developments in the financial market, especially with Iran, Israel, and then U.S. getting involved in it. Okay. So just bear in mind that sentiment in the market may be shifting quite quickly. From risk on to risk off, really depending on what's developing. Okay. So with that said, just bear those in mind as we talk about the charts, and the analysis over here, because sometimes sentiment shift can really impact the price development, and not necessarily price will always follow certain patterns when there's a major fundamental shift or sentiment shifts in the market itself. Okay, so let's start off with the dollar index. We did have the dollar index coming down quite impulsively yesterday, and of course today here is a little bit slow, but yesterday we did see the market came down quite impulsively. So that put the perspective on the dollar index here as potentially making another move lower, and can be breaking this low here, right? We kind of look at it like this perspective where we can still see one more dip, break that, and then fifth wave here would then be pushed over, and then we'll only start to see the upside, right? So that's something very possible, and that's the part where you can see that because of the impulsive move yesterday, we want to really be patient and see how price is going to develop from here first. Okay. In fact, what we can even start to plan ahead and kind of shift it into a alternative perspective is that with this little impulsive move, we have the invalidation level. If we can get some sort of a corrective pullback, right, we would then be expecting the market to make another low, right? And of course, if you are kind of looking at this from a channel perspective, that would build in pretty neatly something like this as well. Okay, so that's something to look up for. For the week itself, for dollar index, so we're looking at possibly another push lower, and of course, if we can get a corrective pullback, that might be a sell opportunity, right? Then of course you translate over to the euro, right? So a little bit on the inverse side of things. Again, similarly here, if you kind of put in a channel structure, okay. If you can get a corrective pullback, that might then present a nice little buy trade opportunity to the upside, to kind of complete the fifth wave structure, right? And this is definitely very corrective in nature, and then this is impulsive in nature. Okay, so this one here is a little bit clearer as compared to the dollar index, right? So that's where you can see here the expectation is that price may have completed that inner tree wave, right? And basically over here we're looking at buy trade opportunity to the upside, right? So if you can get a corrective pullback, depending on the setups you are looking into, that will be an opportunity that you can look to buy it up. Okay, GBP USD, we do need to update this a little bit, right? As again, market continue to develop. We didn't manage to get an impulsive move to the downside, so we probably need to kind of update this. If I'm gonna look at it from a larger perspective, yeah, this would probably need to shift a little bit more in terms of like wave C. With this 1 2 3 4 5, and then the market kind of impulsively moving back up, we can then see from this low here, this is a leading diagonal first wave, and then of course the pullback is more or less completed, and then right now we're gonna start to see a little bit more upside, right? So that can be the take right now. So if that's gonna be the case here, we'll probably see this as A and then B, and then potentially wave C is developing. Okay, and then this will put in the invalidation level over here. Probably need to update the degree a little bit as well. Okay, and kind of change it into a slightly bigger degree, right, to keep things relevant to it. Yeah, so we did not really get that rejection of that, right? So this one here likely is gonna just be updated as currently the bullish sequence is here. So this will be updating as price made an impulsive move. Okay, so we'll just basically expect corrective pullback, and then we can start to look for buy trade setup, right? So that's gonna be the update for pound dollar. Okay, if you can get a nice corrective pullback, that would be a buy trade opportunity, right? What I like about it is that if you actually decide to go to the lower time frame on the hourly, okay, there is this potential setup building, right? Where again you have this as a liquidity, and then you have this as the neckline broken. Okay, and of course we have this huge momentum candle, and then that builds into the fair value gap. So if you can get a corrective pullback from here, that is the setup building in. Okay, so definitely something I'm looking into, but we want to have that pullback first, right? So you don't want to rush into it as well. Probably gonna take about 1 or 2 days, but the setup is definitely there that we can start to look up for the buy trade going in for GBP USD. Okay. Next here is Aussie again, pushing up very quickly, so it's kind of a V-shaped formation, right? So some of this dollar major pairs are giving us that V-shaped formation, right? So right now, definitely for Aussie dollar here is going to maintain a neutral point of view. Okay, we did came very close to this level here. Okay, and perhaps you can consider that as a reaction off as well. Okay, but I think overall we just want to maintain neutral point of view right now until the market give us something clearer. Okay, so really nothing there for me on Aussie dollar. Would potentially just suggest if you're looking at Aussie dollar, just put this aside for the week. Maybe come back next week when things are a little bit clearer, right? So there's really no opportunity that is standing out at the moment. Okay, then we have the dollar Canadian. Dollar Canadian is pretty clear for me right now in terms of the opportunity going forward. So we did have this as an ending diagonal, very nice little push to the upside. Okay, the market did take out this high here, which is a little bit of a confirmation of the reversal. So if you can get a pullback, right, which the market seems to be starting now, if you can get a pullback towards this key area between 3640 to 3670, that will open up an opportunity for us to look for a buy trade setup, and then we'll be expecting a simple 1 2 3, right, kind of WXY structure. Okay, so again, this might be presenting something within the week, maybe give it another 2 days or so, right, and we'll get an opportunity to look for the buy. Okay, so GBP USD and the Aussie CAD, even the Euro dollar, which I mentioned, kind of have the watch list here that you can look up for. Okay, then we have the dollar yen, which is also very clear in structure in terms of like what's developing right now. We have this 3-wave completed. We are expecting this as a 1 2, and then of course the 3rd wave is in development, right? So right now we have this as an impulse late, right? So you do not want to jump in and sell it at where the current price is, but if this pulls back, right, that would start to present an opportunity to get involved in the sell, as long as price respect the recent high at 148. okay, we are looking at this expectation over here, okay, with your target back at like 141.50, right, which is pretty massive, right? Because if today you just simply kind of look at areas that you can look to sell, if you're gonna be putting a stop just above there, all the way bottom, the risk reward is close to 1:3. Okay, if you can string your kind of entry and your stop a little bit tighter, then that will increase your risk to reward very significantly as well. Right. So the plan here, of course, you can see the sequence is overall bullish, but we're kind of expecting this pullback, right? So we'll definitely look for a sell opportunity within the week. Okay. Then we have gold. Gold here we are expecting the pullback, right? So we're kind of expecting a simple three-wave development for the pullback here. Okay, something sort of like that. But we definitely want to see some sort of a corrective pullback, right? And then we can look to sell it. The target areas that we're looking at for this pullback is back towards like 3265 zone, right, to 3260, right? Basically this area here, we're expecting price to come back in waves of 3. So in the short term, within the week, we are looking at sell opportunity, right? But of course, again, you don't want to be selling at the bottom. You want to wait for price to pull back, and then you look for better areas to sell it. Okay. Yeah, so pay attention to how price is going to react. If it's going to just give you a V-shaped formation, then you want to be a little bit careful. But if it gives you a corrective pullback, then the odds of this coming down, it's high, right? And that's where you want to focus your direction on. Okay. I currently do not have a direct setup on the gold side of things, but we do have something on the silver. So silver here, kind of similar, just slightly different in terms of like the previous structure here. We see silver as this low 1 2 3 4 5, and then it's starting to pull back, right? If you're familiar with some of the technical patterns, you can even see this as a potential head and shoulder pattern developing, right? So this is definitely the key area to look out for, and we're just expecting again a simple three-wave pullback, right, for silver. Okay, and of course the area that we're looking to target in the short run, or we expect price to pull back, will be this zone here, right, somewhere around 34.80. Okay, so this one here, definitely an opportunity to consider some kind of a sell setup, right? So what I have over here on the hourly time frame, we do have this liquidity sweep, which is basically, it means that price have this high, it took out that high, and then kind of reverse very quickly, right? As it's coming down, you can also see it has built in some order blocks, right? Especially over here where we have a temporary kind of pause before the market moves down impulsively again, right? So that's the area of order block, and taking Fibonacci's from highs to lows, we have this 67 Fibonacci aligned very nicely with the order block area as well. Okay, so that's the setup that I'm looking at, right? Suppose if price can actually pull back and tag this level at 67 retracement around 36.7, that would be an entry to sell. Stop it goes above that high, and then of course the target here we're looking at very conservatively previous low. Okay, so this kind of setup here would average out, giving you about 1:2 risk to reward ratio. If you want to go lower than that, right, where we share just now on the H4 time frame, potentially you can go all the way towards this level. Let's say we take a middle of it, 34.50, right? If we aim all the way to 34.50, okay, 34.50 is gonna put you somewhere there. Your risk reward increases almost around 3.5, right, to 3.5. So that's great as well. Okay, if that's something that you would like to go for, right, in terms of like second target, extended targets, and things like this, right? So that's silver, something to have in mind, something to add it into your watch list if you want to. Okay. Then next up we have crude oil, coming down very impulsively. So right now, we are looking at being patient, right? That's the trade plan. But of course, if the market starts to pull back correctively, we can anticipate one more push. Okay, we can anticipate one more push. But of course, just bear in mind that right now the market is kind of already testing some key levels, right? And see where that previous structure is. The market is kind of reacting off that. So I'm not too focused on crude oil, to be honest. I would say like crude oil right now might just give us another V-shaped bounce over here, and so I'm just not gonna pay too much attention on this. I'm gonna leave it aside for now. Okay. Then we have the S&P, right? S&P, Nasdaq, Dow Jones. What we're seeing is prices definitely still pushing higher. Okay. We can even consider this as a three-wave correction completed. Just recently, price kind of break that, but of course it's just a minor break right now. If we can see momentum continue to the upside, we can then shift this invalidation level to the recent low here, and then we can start to consider more upside, right? Okay. And of course, if we're gonna put in some labels, this would be potentially the leading diagonal structure. Okay, and then this is the pullback phase, and then we can expect more upside from there, right? So of course, the idea here is if you can get a corrective pullback, that would present an opportunity to consider upside, right? So you can also consider look to buy it if you get a nice little pullback, right? So the direction is clear, right? We are basically bullish over here. If you can see more momentum to the upside, that would really stack the odds higher. But overall, we're looking at buy trade opportunity on the S&P, right? So general equities right now seems to be carrying a little bit of bullish momentum to the upside. Okay. Pound yen. Okay. Pound yen had a very nice little consolidation previously, and then it finally get a clean break out of that consolidation. Okay, kind of a little bit of a triangle pattern over here. So right now we're looking at this as an impulse leg, and then if we can get a pullback towards key area at 195.60, 196 area, that would be an opportunity to look for upside. Okay, this one is quite clear. Definitely be looking at bullish opportunities on the pound yen. Right? Yeah, so pretty straightforward. Then we have Aussie yen. Aussie yen is a little bit of a tricky one at this moment because of this consolidation taking quite a bit of time, which kind of increase the ambiguity, right? Like, we do not want to be in the trade when price starts to do like massive consolidation, because things are not going to get very, very clear. Okay. But overall, we are looking at the odds where, if I zoom out a little bit, right, we are looking at the odds where this is the structure that can be developing, right, where we have 1, 2, 3, where we can expect this to really come lower, right? I initially had a trade on this, but I kind of got out at break even as part of management of the trade, because we got into profits, we moved our stops to break even, and then market kind of came back up and then continues consolidation, which I'm happy to get out anyway, because if the market is not moving, you don't want to be stuck in that trade for too long. Okay. So right now I would say what you want to look out for, is to really see if price can give us that impulsive break out of this consolidation. Okay. If we can get a nice clean break out of this consolidation, then the pullback itself would give us a nice sell opportunity. We can take it all the way down to 90.8. Right, so that's what I'll be looking at for. Yeah, so right now it's basically just waiting for the impulsive break as a part of confirmation, and then we can look to trade it. Right, so that's on the odd yen. Pound odd over here, we are expecting upside, but of course I would love to see some sort of a nice little corrective pullback first, right? Okay, so something sort of this kind of nature. If we can get that, then obviously the upside is there, right? Okay, the upside is there because again we had some nice little confluence where price took out this low, okay, and then kind of V-shape out it. If it gave us a corrective structure over here, that would be a buy opportunity to the upside to complete the three-wave structure over here in terms of like WXY. Okay. yeah, so that is an opportunity to keep an eye on for pound or two. Okay, couple of things developing. Um, Again, these are all higher time frames of H4, so you don't need to kind of stare into the charts all the time. You just need to kind of keep yourself updated on a day-to-day basis. Once a day, look into it. If things are developing, look for a setup. If you get a setup that you can execute a trade, then that's great. Okay. So that's on pound odd, and then lastly here on my list we have the Bitcoin. Okay. So Bitcoin again, I haven't pulled in the FIT because we are pretty much still seeing price near the top, right? So again, you need to keep adjusting it if you start to pull the FIPS in. But basically, you can see the structure of this, right? Very, very clean. Right, 1, 2, 3. Very nice impulsive leg. If you can get a corrective pullback, that would be a buy trade opportunity. I think this is pretty clean and pretty straightforward in terms of like structurally what price is doing. Okay. So keep an eye on the areas between like 101, 101, 187, towards like 102 and 125 zone. Basically, if you average out, that's about 102,000 level. Okay. Keep an eye on that. If you can get a corrective pullback into the key area, that would be great opportunity to get involved in the buy. And then of course your invalidation is the swing low. Okay. So again, a couple of things that you can have in your list, right? Did not tag everything, right? Basically, the one I tag is the one that I have a pending order. But couple of opportunities within the week that can really turn into a trade idea. Yeah, so you definitely want to keep an eye on those as well. Cool. Okay. Good. Any questions? Any questions that you'd like to understand more or find out more a little bit about the markets or any particular instrument or strategies that you want to understand? All good. Cool. Yeah, if all is good, not much of a question, then I think generally that's about it from me for the week. Hopefully, today's session here give you a clear idea about the markets. What to look out for the week. What are some of the setups and opportunities you can keep an eye on to trade, right? Moving forward over here. Okay, so all the best for the week of trading, and I'll see you guys in the next session. Yeah. Okay, see you guys.